أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers to the show, think about it. Now, before we begin, as always, if you enjoy the content of this show, that basically means the information that we put in front of you, if you think that it has given you something to think about, a new perspective, something to obviously introspect, then do remember to hit the subscribe button. Other than that, if you have other topics in mind that you would like us to do research on, because we do have hands on a lot of information and we could probably do a variety of analysis on it as well and bring it in front of you, then do remember to put a comment below, inshallah. And once you're able to do that, inshallah, we'll be able to bring it in front of you too. Today, as most of my shows go, we're going to be sharing a small story. This story is about a gentleman by the name of Rayyan. Rayyan is a very well qualified and experienced business management professional. This gentleman is given a job in a company as a senior employee. And when he gets this job of being a senior employee, he's actually appointed as a vice president. When he gets this job, he thinks to himself about all the different things he can bring about, implement, and all the different knowledge that he has about different facets of business that he could actually utilize, and the business could utilize from him as well, so that he can perform effectively. Now, before I go any further than this, over here I need to bring up a small lesson, something that I've said before, but it needs to be quoted. And that is that most businesses, and businesses could be of any type, whether they be restaurants, whether they be schools, whether they be universities, whether they be telecommunication businesses, whether they be shops or convenience stores, anything that's opened up. When you hire individuals to take on a role within your business, you're hiring someone to perform very well, obviously, that's what you expect, all right? But obviously you have a hiring process. You screen a person, you make sure that they'll be able to do the job, but you want them to perform at their natural best. Never is it that you want to get the most out of your employees. Doing that is like when you have a towel and you've just taken a shower and you want to rinse it out, and you're trying to get the most water out of it. So that's exactly how an employee feels when you try to get the most out of them. They feel stressed, they feel oppressed at times, they feel as though they've made a mistake working in maybe that industry, maybe your specific company, or whatever the situation might be. So we need to be at a level where we understand why we've hired people in certain positions that we've put them in. So back to Rayyan. He joins a company, he's a vice president. He is in charge of the different employees who are in charge of other employees who are in charge of dealing with the customers. Now, in Rayyan's profile, Rayyan knows that he has to work a lot with resolving issues that employees might have. Or if an issue by a customer, a client, gets bigger or is escalated, he is supposed to be the last resort to deal with this issue. And so what he does is he tries to do his job the way he understands it. He spends his probation period, which means the 3 months that he has to spend in the beginning before his probation comes to an end, understanding the culture of the company, understanding how people work, understanding the routines of different colleagues that he has, understanding everybody's role profile and responsibility as well as his own. Now, as time passes, he understands that there's a lot of areas where he could actually bring improvement with some ideas that he has. So he goes to his boss, who would be the president, and of course other people that sit next to them as well, board of directors sometimes, and all these other positions that exist in companies, and he presents his ideas to them. And he says that this is what we can do to maximize our performance. This is what we could do to get rid of this loophole that clients and customers might use, and that might be a deficit for the company. And he brings forth a lot of ideas. Now, when he brings forth a lot of ideas, his own president says that, Rayyan, we're a small company, we're not that big. A lot of our customers know us, we have relationships with them. A lot of them are our family friends as well. And all these things that you're bringing forward and you're talking about, it just makes things much more detailed. And, sometimes intricacies come in. Intricacy basically means issues that might arise. He's like, we need to be able to deal with this on a heart level, on an onus level. So Rayyan says, okay, So that means this company, small, wants to deal with its customers and clients on a heart-to-heart basis. All right, fine. Rayan says, I learned something, so not that strict when it comes to policies, and I can't implement, black and white things. Things are mostly gray. All right. When Rayan sees that an employee has had a problem, and the employee comes to him, and another employee had a problem and comes to him, and he tries to understand their problem and suggest a solution and tell them maybe this can be done or maybe that can be done. If you do this, this might make the problem go away. Employees are happy with the answers. They go back. They do what they have to do. And later on in the evening, the employees talk to the president and say, oh yeah, the vice president gave us this suggestion. These employees go and talk to the president at the end of the day, meet him by and say, oh yeah, we had this issue and it was solved and the vice president told us these solutions and it's working out. So the president is quietly listening to them, okay. And now the president goes to the vice president the very next day and calls him in and says, Rayan, employees came to you with an issue and you didn't tell me? Rayan, you're giving solutions and suggestions, but you don't know how it works here. You don't know the policies here. Why would you go and do that? I need to give you approval before you give anybody any suggestion. So now Rayan's like, I see. So now I have to come to you every time for a solution. All right, if I want to pass something on to anybody else, I have to talk to you. Now, this entire story that I've told you so far, an accumulation of this basically shows that if this continues onwards, which it did, there's a lot of micromanagement involved. Now, Rayan being the vice president of a company, that's not a small position. That's a pretty high position. That's a leadership role that someone has. And in a leadership role, you expect a bit of autonomy. Autonomy means a bit of freedom to take actions. And obviously, you were put in that position because you were qualified for it. And you were expected to actually make decisions, put your foot down, be assertive at times, be emotionally understanding, so empathetic towards people at times, and do something forward. And at the end, bring a report or show how the performance of the general company is to the president. But that's not happening in this case. This is a conflict, a very big conflict. In fact, today's show is about conflict resolution. So we're going to be talking about how conflict resolution is, how it affects us, and different statements that people have made throughout time. Now, there are two gentlemen by the name of Kenneth Thomas and Ralph Kilman. They came up with 5 strategies, common methods of conflict resolution. One of them is called avoiding. One of them is called competing. One of them is called accommodating. One of them is called collaborating. And one of them is called compromising. Quite honestly, all 5 of them are issues of their own. They're conflicts of their own. So they can't really be strategies on coming over anything. I mean, at least in my opinion. Because if you talk about avoiding, if you have a problem with someone and you avoid them, obviously the problem is going to remain. In fact, studies have shown that if you have an issue with someone and you don't talk to that person, or there's a gap between you both meeting each other, so like a 1-week gap or a 1-day gap, or it doesn't matter, but a long time before you could actually sit down and talk about what had happened, people start to cook things in their mind. And so the situation, even though it might not have been that bad, becomes worse over time. It's like the example that I gave in a previous show. It's when you have a problem and you're holding it. The weight of the problem is not an issue. It's how long you hold it for. If you hold it for too long, your arms are going to start to hurt. So basically, the issue here is that it's a small company, and that's what Rayan has been told, but everything is being micromanaged. So if everything is micromanaged, that means that a lot of thoughts are going to go through people's minds. Now, when people don't meet each other for a long time, they end up cooking things up in their head. Similarly, Rayan, when he learns everything about his company, and he learns how things are micromanaged, he ends up getting frustrated. When he gets frustrated, what ends up happening is that he cannot properly communicate with his boss. Conflict is right there. Now, avoiding is the first part that we talked about: competing, accommodating, collaborating, and compromising. Rayyan's story shows that he wasn't avoiding, he was trying to do something. He wasn't competing. He was accommodating. He heard his boss out and he said that, okay, fine, this is what we can do. Even when employees came to him for a solution for an issue that they had, he accommodated them. Collaborating is working together, which obviously Rayyan is trying to do with the president of the company, but there's a bit of a vague picture because Rayyan doesn't really understand how they would collaborate if Rayyan is not aware of all the policies. And these things are probably not mentioned in the handbook or his contract. Compromising is exactly what Rayyan is doing. These 5 points that Kenneth Thomas and Ralph Kilman came up with, they're not ways of handling conflict resolution. These are conflicts themselves. And them being conflicts themselves means that you will always have problems. If you avoid people, you will definitely have problems because people start cooking stories in their head until they see you. And when they do see you, it's never going to be the same. Number 2, competing. When you compete with each other, obviously there's healthy competition as well, but if you're competing with someone to be first or you're trying to push them back, that's not healthy competition. It happens in companies, it happens in institutions, it happens in warehouses and different places as well. Accommodating, definitely a better way to go about it, but accommodating what? If you accommodate everything on your table and you're not that assertive or you don't put your foot down, then you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. Because if you keep accommodating everything, you're going to end up being confused. People are also going to be confused. There are some other strategies which actually solve conflict resolution. Well, which actually cater to conflict resolution. Because what is a conflict exactly? A conflict is a disagreement. A conflict is a battle. A conflict is basically a struggle that people are going through. And a conflict can also be known as a clash or a fight. That's what a conflict is. Anything that is displeasing or negative, right, that isn't going your way is a conflict. How do you deal with these things? There are a few very basic points which people can practice in their everyday lives, even in their homes when they have a conflict with someone in their family, or when they have a conflict with one of their friends, or when they do go to work and they get an opportunity to express themselves as professionals, they might have a conflict. These different strategies can actually help you resolve conflicts. Number 1 is called effective communication. What is effective communication? Effective communication doesn't always mean that you're open to talk to people. It means how you talk to people. So let's say you're a person who is a teacher and your principal, your vice principal has just spoken to you about an issue that has occurred and took you into confidence in explaining that issue to you and said that these are the next steps that you need to take. Now, later down the line, if another teacher has an issue and the vice principal calls them in, if that old teacher who was given a suggestion, who had a problem before, starts talking to the other teacher about, oh, this is what the vice principal told me, this is what happened, this is what it is, this is breaching confidence. This is not effective communication. Even if someone goes to him, why did you talk to the other teacher about what we spoke about the issue that you had? Oh no, I was communicating and trying to make it very clear that this is what you told me before. That's not how it works. You don't go and talk to people about things that they don't really have a say in, especially if you're in the workplace. If you're in the workplace, you don't go and talk to colleagues about policies or what someone is saying that does not concern or affect them directly. If it does affect them directly, then it's actually something you speak about. On that, you don't. Number 2 is active listening. What does active listening mean? Active listening is not sitting down looking at someone and saying, yes, you're right. Active listening is actually a strategy. It's before you state your opinion, you hear everyone else out. Be the last to speak. That is active listening, actually. It's very easy to say, it's very difficult to do. You might have noticed, maybe in your life, this has happened, maybe in your workplace, usually because we're talking about conflict resolution, something that happens at work or at school or at college or university. Someone of a senior post might come up and say that this is the problem, this is what I think is the solution, this is what we can do, but hey, I want to listen to your ideas and I'm open to everything. Too late. The moment you've given your suggestion, depending on your rank and position, people would either shut themselves off because you've already given your suggestion, or you'll have a power struggle. People are going to start competing with you, fighting with you, arguing with you about what a solution can be. What you do is you sit down and you say that this is an issue that we're having, and we need to come up with a way to resolve it. And to resolve it, we need professionals. Professionals like you. You've been entrusted with roles in this organization. You are people that we have absolute trust in. You have autonomy over what you do. And we would really appreciate and value your suggestions on how to tackle this issue. And then you hear people out. And when you've heard everyone out, you actually end up getting a lot of information. You might end up learning something as well. And when that happens, at the end, when you're the last person to speak, you've heard everyone out. You did have suggestions of your own, but now maybe your suggestions have been edited. Maybe they've been adapted. Maybe you've developed them while you were listening to people. Maybe you're going to include them when you say something. And that is active listening. Effective communication, the very statement I said as an example, is what effective communication is. Effective communication is not telling people what you think. It's not telling people what to do. It's not telling people what you expect from them. Effective communication is making sure others understand that they can speak with you openly, that they can trust you. That is effective communication. If you sit down and listen to someone's problem, and you tell them that I understand your situation, or, oh, wow, I can't understand or I can't imagine your situation, but we're here to help, and we'd like you to continue communicating with us and let us know how we can support you. These things are tools of effective communication. The third point is emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? There are a lot of different definitions of this, and a lot of people use different types. I'm going to be talking about the one that I've researched and the one that I've used at times as well, in my own capacity as a professional. Emotional intelligence is being able to read someone and being able to read their emotion. Obviously, if someone is having a hard day and a difficult day, and maybe they are angry, maybe they're upset, you're not going to go to them and tell them, your performance has to come up, you have to do something better, or else we don't know what's going to happen. This is not emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is understanding how people are in front of you, how they're feeling, taking their feeling, understanding their feeling, and telling them that we understand how you feel at this current moment. You're having a difficult day, you're having a difficult time. But with this said, you're over here working. You have a role. You have certain responsibilities. Is there something we can do to help you fulfill those responsibilities? Is there something we could do to help you do your job? Because at the end of the day, you have to put food on the table, just as I do. I'm here to help you. I'm here to listen to you. But at the end of the day, we need to move forward as well. This is emotional intelligence. It's when you accommodate, understand, and empathize with people and their feelings, and you try to move forward after empathizing. And not just moving forward on your own and on your own pace, but trying to get them to move forward with you. That is emotional intelligence. We have 3 more points, but the 3 points that I've told you so far, effective communication. Remember, it's not about telling people what you want or what they should do, what they can't do, what you expect from them, or what a company policy is. That is not effective communication. Effective communication is when after you're done talking or you say something to someone, they know that they can come to you and talk to you. They feel more comfortable sharing with you. They feel more comfortable communicating with you. That is effective communication. Number 2, active listening. Be the last to speak. Take everyone's opinion, understand what everybody is saying, so that you are more educated and you've given everybody a chance to feel valued until you can put your suggestion down, which quite often, because you've heard everyone, would develop when you start speaking. But if you walk in and you throw your suggestion down and then you ask people for their opinions, it's too late. Number 3, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence basically means you give the other person the allowance and the leniency based on their state of mind and emotion. You understand when someone is upset. You understand when someone's having a difficult day. Even just telling them, I know you're having a difficult day. I hope things get better for you. This itself is a courtesy call. This itself is showing that you care. It can be in different manners and it can be done in a different way. But nevertheless, it's important. Emotional intelligence is accepting other people's behavior, their day, their emotions, and being able to take that, give it back to them, and tell them that we understand how you're feeling. You're at work. If you want to take the day off, let me know. If you're having a very difficult time, communicate with us. Effective communication, right? But you're here. We need all of us need to put food on the table. You have certain responsibilities and roles. Let us know how we can support you so we can take care of your responsibilities together. These are just 3 points. Stay tuned. After the break, we're going to be talking about 3 more. Take care and keep thinking about it. See you after the break.
पूरे ऑन्टेरियो में लाखों लोग अपनी कोविड-19 की वैक्सीन हासिल कर चुके हैं। हेल्थ कनाडा की मंजूरशुदा तमाम वैक्सीन्स महफूज और अस्पतालों, डॉक्टर्स के दफातर, फार्मेसीज और अवामी वैक्सीनेशन के मुकामात पर हासिल हैं। अपना किरदार अदा करें, अपनी वैक्सीन हासिल करें। 300 जुबानों में मदद के लिए ontario.ca/book वैक्सीन पर जाएं या 1888-999-6488 पर कॉल करें।
आपकी रिहाइश ऐसी हो जहां जिंदगी की सहूलत मयसर हो, जो आपको बुलंदियों पर ले जाए, तो मिलिए रियल एस्टेट मार्केट के एक्सपीरियंस्ड रियल एस्टेट प्रोफेशनल अमित ओबेरॉय से। GTA में रियल एस्टेट मार्केट के हर अंदाज से वाकिफ। आपको घर खरीदना हो, बेचना हो या करना हो मुनाफे का इन्वेस्टमेंट, मेरे तजुर्बे से आज ही फायदा उठाएं। आज ही कॉल करें अमित ओबेरॉय 647-291-8102। Amit Oberoi, beautiful homes you can afford. – 2020 का लाजवाब ऑफर, जहां हम 0% फाइनेंसिंग पर आपकी मनपसंद कार दे रहे हैं, फ्री विंटर टायर्स, और साथ ही हम मुफ्त ऑयल चेंज भी दे रहे हैं, वो भी उम्र भर के लिए। अभी आएं और इस लाजवाब ऑफर का लुत्फ लें। जल्दी करें, आपका खुशामदीद हमारे आउटलेट में, जो कि 60 क्वींस प्लेट ड्राइव एट इंटरसेक्शन क्लोज टू हाईवे 27 एंड रेक्सडेल अपोजिट टू वुडबाइन रेस ट्रैक। जल्द से जल्द इस ऑफर का लुत्फ लें। आज ही कॉल करें सुनील अग्रवाल को 647-703-0218।
KK Travel believe in providing everyone the first-class customer service. We take care not only for your air ticket, but dignity and respect as well. We are available for you anytime on WhatsApp, even while you are in Pakistan or any other destination. KK Travels guarantee lowest prices and are open to price match any airline.
We are KK Travels under supervision of Gas Khan at 905-367-9433. or visit www.gaskhontravels.com.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back to the show. Think about it. We left talking about conflict resolution. We talked about certain aspects and things made by certain authors, such as Kenneth Thomas and Ralph Kilman. We talked about 5 points, which aren't really ways of solving conflict resolution. They're more like conflicts in themselves. And then we talked about 3 strategies which actually help you resolve conflicts: effective communication, active listening, and emotional intelligence. Now we're going to be taking a look at a few more points. The first one, after the break of course, so 4th in total, would be mediation and facilitation. What does mediation mean? Mediation means is that there are problems occurring between 2 people, and you're someone there to support them so the problem dies down and they become okay with each other. That's mediation. How do you mediate? To mediate, you must be able to make sure that both parties, both people that are in a problem, they understand that you are on both their sides, and you're here to help both of them. Obviously, if you have a relationship with them when you're working with them, then they know you by your relationship. But if you hear a problem, you understand what both of them say. It's up to you to find out a way to get to the bottom of it. So if someone says that, oh, I have this issue with this guy because he did XYZ, but my job is XYZ, he's supposed to do ABC, then you talk to him. You tell the person who's supposed to do ABC that you did XYZ, which is fine, you helped your colleague out, but at the end of the day, he felt a bit offended by it. Both of you are professionals, both of you are hired, and you're supposed to be examples for junior level employees to follow. So both of you are assets for this company, and the company can't really afford for two well-rounded individuals and professionals to come into this type of a problem. So what can we do right now that would help you feel better and that would help you feel better? And that we could put this to bed and both of you professionals can get back to work together. Language, the way you use it, is very important. Because the moment your language changes, the moment you're unable to communicate effectively, you're not able to use the right statements and phrases and put the right feeling with it as well, you have issues. And the conflicts don't really resolve. So how do you mediate? Mediating is understanding both points of views and giving a suggestion which you know both might be interested in. You can also give a suggestion that both of them brush off, or one of them brushes off. You're like, okay, fine, you didn't like the suggestion that I put forward. I understand and I respect that. You have to understand I'm just here to support you and him or her to reach an amicable solution so that both of you can get back to work and we can make sure that our team becomes stronger. So what do you think would be a good solution? You hear them out. And then you can try giving another suggestion after that. But this is what mediation is basically. It's being able to stay absolutely, which is point number 6, calm. Being calm, staying calm, is a very big part of conflict resolution. Staying calm basically shows people that you're in control. Staying calm probably also shows people that you haven't figured out, which means that you know exactly what you're talking about, you know exactly what you're going to be doing, and how you can support people. That is staying calm. With that, when you want to mediate, staying calm is absolutely important. With effective communication, staying calm is absolutely important. Being an active listener, you always have to remain calm. Because if you're too excited about what people are saying, it gives you away. People don't take you seriously. Then comes point number 5, which is problem solving and critical thinking. Problem solving is very simple. You have an issue in front of you, you think of the solution, you're like, this is what can happen, let's go forward with it. You solve that issue. It might be a short-term solution, it might be a long-term solution, whatever it is. It is a learning curve for you. Once you've solved the problem, you see the reaction to that solution. You see the consequences and the results of that solution. If they work for you, great. If they don't, you're actually learning, because the next time you get a similar problem, you're not going to solve it in the same way. So problem solving doesn't always mean that you get it 100% right. Problem solving means you took care of something, and now you're waiting to see how the results will unfold, so that either you could take care of it again in a better way, or whether your method was so good and it worked so well that this is something you could use for other problems of a similar nature. This is problem solving. Critical thinking is being able to think about all the repercussions that could happen. So if there's a problem, let's say in a business, think about how it affects the clients, the customers, the employees, the stakeholders, the company itself. And critical thinking would be looking at it in different perspectives. So basically, thinking about it from different points of view. That is what critical thinking is, basically. And if you don't have that, your problem solving skills are not going to be that effective. Most of them will probably be short-term and you'll have to change them every now and then. But that's why problem solving and critical thinking go together. It's because you're looking at things from different angles and you come up with a solution. And then you wait to see the reaction to that solution and how things play out. If they play out well, you're on a good track. If something needs change, you've just learned something. With all of this being said, conflict resolution is actually a learning curve. Every time you have a conflict, every time there's a problem and an issue, it is an opportunity for you to learn something, whether it be at home, between brothers and sisters, husband, wife, family, in-laws, all these different things that happen that are quite common. At work, at school, between students, between teachers, between employees, between people who work as salesmen or whatever the case is. Every time you have a conflict, it is a learning curve. One important takeaway that I want to leave everyone with today is that conflict resolution is not that difficult. It just needs practice. What makes things difficult is your character, your approach, and the way you think about conflicts. If a conflict is a very big issue for you, it will be a very big issue when you try to solve it. If you think of it as a learning curve, you're going to walk away learning something. So don't avoid. That's the worst thing you could do. Don't compromise, because if you start compromising, people will take you for granted. Don't compete, at least not always in all scenarios. Because when you compete, you create a toxic environment, a hostile environment at times as well. Because then there's no trust. It's if I do better, I go up. If you do better, you go up. So sometimes instead of me trying to do better, I'm trying to make sure others don't do better. Collaborating is a good thing, but it depends on what type of collaboration you're doing and whether collaborating is going to lead to competing or not. But at the end of the day, conflict resolution is actually a mindset. The biggest learning curve you could have. So, communicate effectively. Listen actively. Understand others' emotions, because that will make you emotionally intelligent. Remember, always, when you do problem solving, you're looking at the results and how you can make it better. And always, always stay calm. When you're mediating, you have to stay calm. When you're communicating, you have to stay calm. When you're listening, stay calm. When you're solving a problem, you guessed it, stay calm. Until next time, think about it. Have a good week. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.